So let's take a look at building that algorithm in actual code. Okay, so I'm going to start with this email, and I'll write it exactly as it was. If I can spell it. There we go. Okay, so that's exactly what we had before. bmos@bakersfieldcollege.edu with parentheses and a period. So I want to start with an email address that may or may not have garbage characters at the beginning and end. And I want to return just the email address. So let's make a function called clean email. And it is going to accept an email address in a text string, and it is going to return a string that has the cleaned up email address in it. So it's going to take this in here, and at the end of that function, it's going to return that back, but without the garbage characters. So let's write some quick pseudocode in here. So the first thing I need to do is split the email at the @ symbol. That gives me a list with 2 items in it. The next thing I need to do is I need to take the front half of the email address, which is index 0 in that list, and I need to flip it. Okay, so flip the first half backwards. Okay, so far so good. The next thing I need to do is this process, right? I need something that's going to go through each one of these and stop when it gets to the end of it and give me only what's left. What I'm going to do, because I am doing the same thing twice, rather than writing the same code twice, I'm going to create a custom function that just handles this piece. And I'm going to send this to it, and then I'm going to send this to it. That'll save me some coding, and it simplifies my program a little bit. So now I've broken the problem down into a smaller piece. I'm saying this piece is its own problem. How do I take a string and go through it character by character until I reach a character that I don't want, and then return this string back without that character? So that's a simpler problem. Let's figure that out. So I'm going to clean that. I'm going to return string without bad characters. And that one's going to be ×2, right? And then let me finish pseudocoding the rest of this function, and then I'll pseudocode the function that we need to use for that other one. So let's go, after we have both of these strings cleaned off, we've got to flip the first half back. So we're reversing it. Flip first half again. So I'm going to use the same command that I used to flip it the first time. So if I flip it front to back one time, it's backwards. If I flip it again, then it's forwards again. And then I have to join the string with the @ sign. Okay, so that is that one. And you can see the pieces here. For this one, it's deconstruction, solution, reconstruction. And it's sort of balanced on both sides. So for this, I'm going to call it clean half. Okay, that's going to be my sub function here. So let's call this clean half, and it's going to take a string, and it's going to return a string called str clean. So it's going to take the dirty text. Actually, let's call this one dirty. Let's so that we really know. It's going to take the dirty text from one half as a parameter, and then it's going to return a clean version of that back. So let's pseudocode this. First thing I need to do, loop through characters in the string. If char is good, then add to str clean. If character is bad, then break. That's it. That's the piece. All we're going to do is loop through each character. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to go through. If it's good, add it to the new variable. If it's bad, as soon as we get to the bad character, we stop, and then it returns what's good. So let's finish out this little piece here so we can use it later. So I'm going to loop through the characters. Before I loop through the characters, I'm going to create the str clean variable. And it's just going to be an empty string. It doesn't have anything in it when we start because I'm going to put stuff in it as we go. So loop through the characters for str character in str dirty. So for each character in the dirty string, if the character is good, then add to str clean. So we say if str character is equal to, well, first let's go with is alphanumeric, is ALNUM, right? So that says if it's a letter or a number. Or str character is, what else could it be? If it's not a letter or a number, what are the characters that are allowed? Underscore, period, hyphen, right? So now I have to say that those are good too. Or str character equals a hyphen, and finally str character equals what's the last one? Period, right? So if it is any of these things, then we're going to keep it. So if we want to keep it, then we say str clean plus equals str character. So we're just saying we're adding str character to that string. So it's going to build that string one character at a time. And then this piece, if character is bad, meaning else, then we just break. Now there's one more thing that's important, because what we have here is we have a parentheses and a period. But in case you didn't notice, this algorithm would allow a period at the end of an email address. So if you had an email address at the end of a sentence, it wouldn't know to clean that off. So that's the last piece we have to do, is we have to say, if there's a period at the end of that, let's clean it off. How do we do that? I'm going to show you. So before we return the str clean, we need to do one more thing. We need to say if the last character of that string is a period, then we need to get rid of it. Remember how to do that? We're going to use string slicing. So we're going to say if str clean -1, which says the first character at the end, equals period, then str clean equals, we're going to put that back, we're going to take it out, slice it, and put it back, equals str clean 0, comma, -1. Oh, not comma, colon. So all we're saying at the very end of this, after we've gone through, is if there's still a period at the end of that, if that last character, -1, is a period, then we're going to grab a substring of that. We're just going to say from the beginning all the way to the second to last character, and we're going to put that into that variable before we send it back. So now we've cleaned it up, and we've got a thing that cleans each half of the email address, assuming that they are already in this order. So the first half has to be reversed before it takes that, but then they do the same thing to both. So we've got that clean half. The rest of this is actually pretty simple, and it just involves more of the string manipulation that we've already talked about. So the first thing we need to do is split the email at the @ sign. Li email, because it's going to be a list, equals strtext dot split, and we're splitting at the @ sign. That's going to give us the two halves. Now the first half is in li email index 0. So we have index 0 and index 1 for those two halves. So I'm going to use self-assignment again. Li email 0 equals li email 0, and then we're going to use, after we identify which thing we're using, which is an li email slot 0 or index 0, I'm going to use string slicing to reverse that. You remember the magic formula for reversing a whole string in string slicing? Colon, colon, -1. And I shouldn't be using the equivalency, I should be using assignment. That's why it was orange before. So I have one equal sign there. Li email 0 equals li email 0 reversed. That's all I'm saying. So we flip that first half backwards. Now we have to clean each half by passing it to our clean half function that we created. So li email 0 equals clean half li email 0. So I'm saying, let's send this to clean half where it gets scrubbed and then put it back into the same slot in the container. So I do the first half of the email address, and then I do the exact same thing with the second half of the email address, which is in index 1. And then I have to take the first half, we're putting it back together now, we've deconstructed it, we've solved it, and now we're reconstructing it. I'm taking the first half and flipping it again. I'm using the exact same code, because you flip it once, it's backwards, you flip it again, it's right side forward. So there we go, that's flipped, and now all I have is one step, which is joining them back together. Now remember, join is a string method, so I start with the glue. The glue is the @ sign. That's what I'm using to stick them together. String.join li email. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to join it back up, and I'm going to put it in the strtext container, and then I'm going to return that. So there we go. Let's make another bad email here. I'll call that str email 2. But let's see what we got. Um, okay, so let's just have a period at the end of that one, make sure that that part works. So I'm doing a few test cases to see here. So the first test case is to print clean email, str email. And then the second test case, we'll do the same thing. We'll print it, we'll print the second one. And if both of those come out clean, then we're in pretty good shape. So let's see if it works. Okay, so there are the two email addresses. They start this way, and they get cleaned up. Now,